Welcome back, listener. You are listening to the Friday Council, your home for free thought and purposeful discussion on our human condition and all interesting aspects of modern living. If you share in our desire for new ideas and self-improvement, relax your body and contemplate alongside us. Now on the Friday Council.
Hello and welcome back to the Friday Council podcast. Today is episode 29. It's a cool number. It's just,
I guess.
Birthday number, special meaning to me.
Okay. Yes.
Anyway, yeah. How's everyone doing today?
Great
David?
week.
Not too bad.
Epic. Itching to go.
Yeah.
Should I kick us into it?
Yeah,
Straight
man.
off the bat?
Yeah,
Big
load us
question
up.
off the bat. So we're going to talk about food in general, our food system, potentially the future of food. It's been on my mind this last week. I want you guys' opinion, just gut opinion. I didn't prep you guys with this question. Thinking about food as medicine, you kind of hear that go around. And so what do you guys think? It's a fair analogy to think of food, medicine, and drugs as all kind of like a blurry one thing? Or do you think that
Little bit.
can you get by thinking basically food as we picture it, fruit, vegetables, as medicine?
Nah, definitely not.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Why not?
I think, have you ever heard of eating fruit and vegetables curing cancer?
Or preventing. Might be preventing cancer though.
Ask Steve Jobs about that.
Right.
I think he was a fruitarian, so he only ate fruit, and he got pancreas cancer. So that would be the opposite. I think too much of any, that's an extreme. A balanced diet, without a doubt, is going to be good at potentially preventing stuff. I would consider it more comparable to a supplement than medicine. Now, you can categorize it as medicine, but I wouldn't class it as medicine in terms of, if we say, what's an example of a medicine?
Paracetamol.
Pretty average.
Is that what you think?
Pretty average medicine. What's a medicine that we know that can actually
Morphine.
cure?
Cure.
Yeah, like there are drugs out there that if you have, I think it's like, there's something for malaria, or is there even? No. I don't know. There's certain illnesses that you get and you have to take a medicine to fix it, or else you'll die. Yeah.
I think a good pro for the food is medicine argument is with COVID, like the people who are getting sick were people who are already like weak immune systems anyway, majority weak immune systems and like underlying conditions caused by like usually lack of nutrition, and so I think food is a good preventative, and I think like if you eat a healthy diet, you're going to be less likely to contract like a cancer or something.
Less likely, but not bulletproof.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like one of the unfortunate ones that has, genes for cancer, then you're probably, you might reduce your chance of getting cancer by a fraction. But yeah.
Well, okay. Well, what do you guys reckon about kind of a jumping topics about then like big food, like funding food research, and I think we're all far enough away from the food pyramid we grew up with. We're being the Kellogg's funded one. I think everyone's kind of familiar with that fact that like the Kellogg's, the cereal company, like funded research and created this food pyramid that basically encouraged you to eat far more grains than is necessary. And that happens a lot. I know Coca-Cola fund like big American food and health like government agencies, and so their slant is obviously that sugars are all good, fats are bad, and then you got the big, I don't know, animal agriculture funding saying sugar's bad. Do you guys think the big food businesses being involved in that is a good idea or no?
Well, I mean, just to clarify, this Kellogg's food pyramid you're talking about. So are you saying from the bottom it's more talking about consumption of bread,
and
grain,
and
then upwards vegetables?
Yeah.
meat and like cheese and dairy, and then top is fatty oils.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the one I kind of grew up knowing. Yeah, and I always thought, yeah, like that eating cereals was considered a healthy, a healthy meal.
Yeah.
Like if you start, say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and here you are just munching down on Wheat Bix or cornflakes or
Wheat Bix aren't inherently unhealthy. I'd say unless you're adding piles of sugar, that to be fair, because it is a whole grain and is very low in sugar, unless you add it that. But more Cocoa Pops, Fruit Loops. Those are just desserts.
So in that sense, if these companies, so we'll use Kellogg's for example as their food pyramid, but then they're pumping out unhealthy cereals. Cocoa Pops is a Kellogg's cereal. I think, what have you got? Special K, I think, is another one.
I think Special K is
relatively okay. Like you got your brand. So
some cereals are
possibly,
or healthy can mean different things to different people.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you're celiac disease or something, then it's
completely
unhealthy.
Different.
If you are grain tolerant, then I think whole grains like all bran. Wheat Bix are pretty healthy. They're high fiber. They're whole grains, low in sugar.
Well, that's the thing as well. In terms of speaking about like diets as well with food, when it's going to be, I think it's going to be very specific. Like you have the cultural trends where it's like Atkins apparently in the 90s, which is like no sugar.
I think it was earlier than that. I think that was early 1900s.
Right.
But that was the original like keto.
But there's like trends now.
Yeah,
like
there's definitely
the meat
fads.
carnivore diet is kind of the latest trend. But I think what's obvious throughout all the trends where, people, they work for some people and don't work for other people, it's very obvious. It doesn't, a trend doesn't work for everybody, is that it is going to be real personal. And one point I wanted to make at some point, might as well make it now, is that I reckon it's real important to just like mess around with your own diets and experiment yourself, because it's almost useless. Like a friend telling you like, oh, I've been doing the carnivore diet, like I feel real good, like blah blah blah, and oftentimes that can just be like a bounce back, like a massive tilting of the scales of their like nutrients that they were missing if they're and some people say, oh, I only eat plant-based vegetarian, I feel amazing. And not everyone's going to feel that way. I know with different blood types determines how like well you did process different sugars.
I guess general makeup of your body, I guess. For example, David can probably consume a lot more carbs than I can, because if I consume lots of carbs, I'm more likely to put on weight. Whereas I high metabolism.
Yeah, a key distinction there, I think, with all diets. Don't get me wrong, it's generally easier. Carbs tend to be, sorry, someone's calling me. What is the word? Is it calorie dense or no? I think it's the opposite. No, it is the one where proportionately you get way more calories from eating a small amount of carbs versus a piece of meat.
Yeah. Or vegetables are calorie dense, where you can eat lots of them for smaller amounts.
So I think this is where a lot of people go wrong, and this is why this carnivore or keto diet people say, oh, it's so easy to lose weight because I'm not eating carbs. It's just because you're getting less calories proportionately, because it's, again, I think, does that mean it's calorie dense? Or is it the opposite?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's where you're getting...
Like the total mass of food isn't equating to energy.
It's filling you up for a much less amount of carbs, calories than eating. Like, for example, to make a point really clear, Coke or any fizzy drink, you get an extreme amount of calories and it doesn't fill you up at all.
Yeah.
You can just guzzle.
Yeah.
But eating one big piece of steak, that'll probably fill you up. And it will only be like 500 or 600 calories.
Calorie dense is like, if a food's calorie dense, meaning that it's high in energy and low in nutrients.
Okay.
Is that what you're trying to?
Kind of.
Because
really.
Coke would probably be high in energy.
And that would be
sugar.
Yeah, low in nutrients. But that's sort of a little bit different as well, because that's like I think it's annoying. It's frustrating. I'm trying to spell it out
I think
as
I
clearly as
think I
possible.
understand what you're
Yeah, just to make a clear example, as I say, you could eat a bag of Doritos and a bottle of Coke, and that would probably be close to 2,000 calories, but that would not fill you up for very long.
Yeah.
If you ate one big piece of steak, that'd probably be 500 or 600 calories, and it would fill you up for a much longer time. So I think it's an important distinction to make, because carbs aren't inherently bad. People say, so for example, it's a bit of a misunderstanding that, I could eat more carbs. It's just, just to try and boil it down to one simple point, the key, no matter what, carb, fat, protein, is calories, just the total calories in, calories out. That's the key distinction. If you're trying to lose weight, you just need to be burning more calories than you're putting in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter the makeup of your diet. It might be easier, probably will be easier if you eat lots of meat, because I say it's satiating. That's probably a word that I'm looking for. You don't have to eat much meat to fill you up for a long time. So
I think you've unintentionally made another point where I think you can really like nerd out and like with like I mentioned before, the big food funded research, you can find, like as with many things these days, you can find any science to prove your own point. And then it brings to mind just like general like food or health literacy. There's obviously, we kind of mention often, like government top down like campaigns like 5+ a day we're all raised on. What do we think about just the financial food literacy with society as a whole?
I think most people don't. I think most people don't even understand how to read the label on the back of the food, and that's really not. Sorry, my voice is going croaky. It's not that hard to understand. The table. Most people should learn to do that, because this is where, and I see my mum get caught out of this. Oh, it's got a 5-star health rating, and that could be something like olive oil, which is healthy, but is that calorie dense? Yeah, there's a lot of calories because it's fat and highly concentrated. You could glug a whole bunch of olive oil back. It wouldn't be very nice, but you could get 1,000 calories very quickly. So she's like, oh, it's healthy. Yes, it is healthy. But if you're trying to lose weight, you probably don't want much of that, because it's healthy in terms of nutrients, antioxidants, and stuff like that. But you're going to get a lot of calories for a small amount of oil. And that can also be misleading with other stuff as well, where, again, 5-star health rating. And it could be, I think, maybe a good example of this is like green milk. People say, again, my parents drink green milk. It's healthier. If you look on green milk, it's got more sugar in it than blue milk does, because they've taken out the fat and then they've added sugar in. And so you can get a lot of these. I think I've seen this with a lot of Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers food. It's low fat, but these brownies and stuff they do can still be quite high in sugar. So again, and this all depends on what you're trying to get out of it. For some people, if you're Michael Phelps, then getting lots of sugar isn't going to be such a bad thing. But if you're not Michael Phelps, then you might actually want to go for something low in sugar, or it just depends. But
it's super dependent on the person. Anything to add, Nav?
Not particularly. No, just listening and what you guys have to say. It's all good.
What do you want? Should we pause there?
I just think, it's something, again, one of these things that should be, I guess, taught in school, how to read a nutrition label, because, the front of a package can be very deceptive if you don't know how to read that nutrition label.
It kind of reminds me, I guess, I think at high school we had these particular pies from the tuck shop. Like, pies for the most part, very unhealthy pastry, lots of fat. And they brought in these health tick pies.
Right.
The purple packet, I think it was. I can't remember exactly the same thing. Trying to brush it off, and like, it's all well and good, but like everyone knows pies aren't healthy, ended up like hardly selling any of them anyway and scrapping the idea because people want to eat a pie. They're not eating it for health's sake. They're eating it for enjoyment or for...
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
Pies, aren't inherently healthy. That's right. They're calorie dense.
Yeah.
Again, I think I'm hopefully using that word correctly. Although I'd argue that a pie would be better than eating a white bread sandwich with Vegemite on it, because you're getting in a pie, you're actually getting quite a balanced amount of your macronutrients. You're getting plenty of carbs from the pastry. You're getting plenty of fat and protein from the beef, steak, whatever it is in it. So you're actually getting all three macronutrients. And a pie, it is, high in calories, but it's much more satiating than that sandwich would be. There'd be a little bit more calories in a pie than a sandwich, but not a huge amount, maybe 100 more calories or so, but it's much more satiating. And I think, you're getting a bit of iron and all that sort of, I mean, you probably get some of that from the Vegemite and stuff, but it can be considered unhealthy, but if it's just part of a balanced diet for the day, it's actually not as bad as you might think.
I remember, because obviously I've always been trying to gain weight, which is not the mainstream when you're talking about food and diets. It's always to lose weight. So I'd often find myself doing the opposite when I was younger, doing the opposite of what the weight loss articles do. But I think it also just makes me anyway appreciate like how general like the engine, like our stomach engine, like how many varieties of food we can chuck in there, and like a real good old school diesel engine, like it can run off like ethanol, it can run off a lot of things.
That's a great point, is that humans are highly adaptable. So people will say, oh, this is the perfect diet, oh, this is the way our ancestors ate, as though therefore that means we have to eat this particular way. But it's like, no, you can be a vegetarian, you can be a vegan, probably still need to have a supplement if you're a vegan, which I think is actually a strong case against veganism. But we can override that, because that's it. We're humans. We can get the vitamin B12 supplements. But you can be a carnivore diet. You can be all of these things. So the human body is highly adaptable. That's right. I don't think there is one perfect way.
No.
And I think that's why humans are as successful as we are, is because, food pyramids and food chains can change and we can adapt with them, whereas other animals might not be able to. They might need to be cut. There's plenty of animals, like cats, for example, which are carnivores, and if all the meat dries up for a season or something crazy happens in the area, but you've got lots of fruit and veggie and grains, you can survive, but the cat and the polar bear or some other carnivore can't. So I think, humans are highly adaptable, and I think that's a great thing, is that there isn't one perfect diet or way of eating.
What I want to know you guys' opinion on this. What it comes up in the news every now and again, the sugar tax, like a tax on a sugary food, with the intent, I assume, if I understand it right, the intent is to stop poor people from making bad decisions with their food. What do you guys reckon about that?
It's kind of a grey area, because in that sense, like, I try and prescribe to the idea that most people can choose for themselves what they want to eat, what they don't want to eat. But then when you're living in a society like ours, where you have like your healthcare system, for example, well, like if you talk about smoking, smoking, for example, is more likely that people who smoke are going to use the healthcare. So like in that sense, when you're talking about a sugar tax, would it be a better idea to subsidize fruit and vegetables instead, and allow people to decide what they want to eat? Or, because effectively it's like raising the price of cigarettes, still to try and prevent people from smoking. Well, you are effectively, just generalizing here, you are effectively making it harder for the lower class, you're taxing the more poor, because poor people in general are more likely to smoke. So it kind of has like a counterintuitive thing to it. So like I mean, you can try and cut energy drinks for under 16-year-olds, which they did at the supermarket, but it's not. It doesn't work. Like you still be able to figure it out.
This is where as well I see the crossover between like food, medicine, and drugs. Is that like for a lot of people, whether they admit it or not, I think like Coca-Cola is like almost a drug. It's not. You're sure it gives you calories, but it's you're basically doing it for your taste buds and fuck whatever else it does to your body. You know, they're not thinking about it in terms of like how many calories they're getting. Really,
No,
it's like a drug. You're just doing it for like the pleasure, the sensory
like
pleasure.
the sensory pleasure of like the carbonation hitting the back of your throat, or which is all food though. You know, like a real good food.
Yeah,
you do it you pay a lot of money for good food for that sensory pleasure, even if it's going to have roughly the same effect on your body as like a bland like lettuce salad will, you know. So
well, I mean that's why people go to restaurants. Like effectively you could make your own pasta at home. You probably make, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a portion of what you would pay if you went to a restaurant to buy that pasta, but for the most part it's going to be made so much better tasting, or whatever they.
I think pasta is one of those ones where
maybe not pasta.
Yeah, pasta.
Yeah.
I think you can. Like it's when you can nail at home, but burgers.
Yep.
Or I'm trying to think of what's anything Asian, sort of like a
hard to do at home like for us whites.
Yeah, like a katsu curry,
even a nice steak for like. It's one of those like I don't eat steak that often.
Yeah,
but
I can never nail meat.
For
meat
wedding
myself.
Anniversary, we went to a place in town, and it was like a small portion of steak. Like, you know, you're looking at, man, what is this? But it was just insane. Like you're savoring every bite that you eat.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're at home, you just cook up a steak. You're just like, I'm just munching it down.
Yeah.
Do you guys reckon we'll ever get to a point where you can, or would people like it if it was an option, where you can just take like uphill and have all your nutrients?
And I think
we'll get to that point?
Already really close to that.
Mm-hmm.
With that Soylent crap, I shouldn't call it
Soylent
crap.
Green.
I actually, I don't know what that's been around for probably at least 10 years, but you don't really hear much about it anymore. So I don't know if that's still. I mean, probably still around, but I think that's close to it where it's a shake, so it's not quite a pill. But yes, it's very. You just put a powder in and mix it up. It's very close to making it as efficient as possible. So yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Would that suggest though maybe that people aren't that keen for it then, if it's been around for ages and it's like such a minor thing?
Well, yeah, I would have to do my homework on it. It could be a big thing that we just and certain. Yeah, I don't know.
I think for me personally, like if you've got the option of taking all your nutrients in one pill, the only upside to that is pure, like for me, is pure convenience. So like if I just had the busiest lifestyle where I was working, I just don't have time to cook food or to make food or even to consume food, because I don't know, how long would it take to eat a meal? 10 minutes? Then sure. But for me, like eating is not, there's way more to it. So like you can look at it from a cultural perspective. That's why you have so many cultures that put such high like on a pedestal, foods on a pedestal. Like you come together, you eat a meal, you sit at a table. It's real big in like Italian culture, Asian cultures, and then sometimes food is like you want to enjoy the experience if you're trying new foods or whatever. And sometimes it's like I'm just eating for sustenance. It doesn't matter what I eat. I'm just hungry. So like it's if you were to have that option to have just a one pill to consume all your nutrients, then I mean it would probably just be similar to having a supplement. Like you take it on some days, and then other days you eat food.
That's exactly
like why would you want to do it? Like it feels to me like you're robbing yourself of enjoyment, because unless you're like have an eating disorder or bulimic or something, man, food's awesome. Like it's great. I tried a new food this week. Like I have a thing for me. Sorry, just to cut you out, but it's like I grew up being so bland when I eat food. Like it was always the same things. Parents would struggle to get me to eat vegetables. Now it's kind of like the complete opposite, where at least I'm willing to try it before I write it off. And so there's a whole bunch of foods that I'm slowly trying to go for. So I tried oysters for the first time this week.
But you never.
Yeah, it was interesting. I'll probably eat them again, but I don't think they were that amazing.
Not much of a seafood person.
Did you want to add something?
Yeah, no, I was just, that was my train of thought, is I would love that option for like 70% of the time. And then 30%, yeah, when we get together, we can have a nice meal. That's cool. But having that convenience for that, the regular everyday, breakfast, whatever, lunch on just a standard day when I really can't be bothered making food, that'd be a fantastic option to have. I would love that. And then, yeah, it doesn't have to be like this all or nothing option. You can have a nice meal when you want.
I think sorry, the distinction from your question is this pill going to just give you the nutrients you need, or does it cure the feeling of feeling hungry?
To cure the feeling as well,
then
I'd say.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of ridiculous now, and it brings to my mind the importance of like some ritual things. Like the most obvious one in my life is like putting playing music. Like it must have been a real ritualistic thing that just felt like a chore back in the day because you didn't have a choice. You had to like mess around with the big record and put it on and blah blah blah. And I think we feel kind of like that with food, where it might not be a pill, but you might go to sleep and just have like IV drip, and you wake up and you feel you're ready to go.
I've always thought about that.
To us, that's outrageous, but maybe in another 100 years, just like with the record player, they're like, why would you fuck around with a record player? You can play anything on your phone straight away.
I've always thought about a drip,
but it's like it's important to have the ritual. Maybe,
yeah, I know what
eating,
you're saying.
Sorry.
In terms of, because you get dehydrated in your sleep. So I've always thought about it kind of wouldn't work because then it'd make you need to go to the toilet.
So you have an IV and then a catheter. So it's just constant.
But I've always thought that would be a great idea, and then you'd probably wake up feeling way better. But it's not very practical because of course then you'll need to urinate and
well, that's the thing for like IV drips to cure hangovers. Like I know specifically in America, there's places where you can go to.
I've heard.
If you've had a big night out, you just hook yourself up to an IV in this place, lie down for an hour, and then it's kind of like giving you electrolytes, similar to like Powerade, but supposedly cures your hangover.
I bet it won't. It'll help.
It'll help.
Kind of jumping back to another point, I wanted to ask you guys.
Sure.
So. Tell me if my logic here is wrong first. So, like we mentioned before, like poorer people, whether it's for lack of education, lack of care, lack of time, whatever, generally assumed to eat less healthily than more wealthy people.
Yeah.
And I know ACT were proposing something with like a lock for any benefits on the card that they use. So they can't make ridiculous purchases with other things.
Yeah.
He didn't mention anything about food, but I was thinking it possibly made sense to only allow like a set, instead of a sugar tax, maybe just like they're not allowed to buy Coke if they're using government money. Yeah. To Because if you're slamming all that Coke, then the argument would be like you're going to go to the dentist more. Like you're saying, like using the taxpayer funded hospitals and stuff. And I think food as medicine. So with a shit diet, you're going to be more likely to just get sick, time off work, contract other diseases, diabetes being one. So what do you guys reckon about that as a form of?
Yeah, I don't hate the idea. As specifically if you're a beneficiary.
Specifically for beneficiaries, maybe.
Yeah, if you're using taxpayer money. Then I don't think that I wouldn't be running out to make that a law. But if you came to me with that, I wouldn't be a part. I think it's got some merit. It's got some merit.
Yeah, I think the logic checks out.
Yeah,
but it's logical. But is it fair?
It makes sense. So I'm trying to. It's more the
that's the
balancing.
Question.
Like, is that the right thing to do? Because yes, logically it makes sense, but I don't know. It seems somewhat controlling in a way.
Yeah, but if you're on a benefit, then I don't think you deserve a full set of rights. your right should come with an asterisk. And certainly, I can say categorically, you should not be allowed to buy alcohol and cigarettes if you're on a benefit. With taxpayer money, if you get money from your family or some cash under the table, you sell something, that's okay. But with
that's going to be under the government's radar anyway.
With that government allowance you get, yes, you should have a card, and it should be certainly restricted from alcohol and tobacco. And I say, I'm not dying to make that a law, but I certainly got some merit that maybe a good way to do it would be to have a supermarket designed specifically for beneficiaries, so their card only
or
works
they just
at
get
the
deliveries.
store.
They get like a
something like that. Rather than they going to Countdown, they do whatever, they have a restricted online menu, something like that. I agree. I'm all for freedom, but I think it's a big difference when your money is coming from the taxpayer,
from the state.
I would never make that a rule if you were just a poor person, but you are making your own money.
Yeah, I mean, if it could be a system that could be implemented efficiently,
and that's the thing. Yeah, of course, it would have to be practical. If this would cost billions of dollars and it just wasn't practical, then you just have to say no. But if it could be streamlined and a practical system could be put in place, I'd be open to it.
It's I'm not fully opposed, or I don't have like a strong feeling about it. I think,
but I will just say on that note, one thing that I hate is that this is an excuse that a lot of people make on behalf of poor people. Oh, healthy food's so expensive, so much. Some healthy food is expensive. There is plenty of healthy, or at least healthier food than Coke and Doritos that isn't expensive. Wheat Bix, dirt cheap, especially if you buy the home brand one, whatever. Pasta, not super healthy, but not, again, pasta with some Parmesan cheese or any sort of cheese or a few veggies in there. Frozen veggies, dirt cheap compared to fresh veggies. I buy, you get like a kg of frozen greens or whatever for like $4.50, probably even cheaper. Some pasta, some cheese as a solid meal, way healthier than a bag of chips and a bottle of Coke.
I think it's a common gripe of
milk,
middle class in general. Middle class families, they go,
milk's not super expensive, and it's very nutrient dense. There's those are just off the top of my head. There's a bunch of foods out there that oats. That's the best.
It's the classic.
Oats are so cheap. You can get kg bags for a couple bucks, and oats are really healthy. They are really healthy. So that is such a cop-out, such a BS excuse. Some healthy food like salmon and stuff like that is quite expensive. So, you don't have to buy that. Here's potatoes, kumara. Kumara at the moment it's a little bit pricey, but in general, there is a bunch of pretty healthy foods that are dirt cheap.
I mean, I thought that's all relative, I guess, to how your situation is, because you think about it, and I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying I disagree or don't agree, but someone who's considered more poor or the lower socioeconomic status, their food shop is considerably more proportion to how much they earn to someone who's got a bit more wealth, so there's more leniency to try that thing.
But that's the point I'm making, is that these, especially again, like oats, are dirt cheap. There is no case that you can make against oats. A poor person can buy oats. Oats is about the same. A kg of oats is about the same as a bottle of Coke. So and that can be a staple of your diet. You can have oats 3 or 4 times a day. You can't have that alone, but you can make that a staple, and then you can throw in something else on the side. I'd say beans, another one. Beans, you can buy, again, if you go for the home brand, the non branded ones, you can get a can of beans for like $1. I buy it sometimes. You get like five mixed beans for like 99 cents at Countdown. You can make that. Rice is another one. Like, there's so many, and I would say arguably they are even cheaper than crap food. I mean, the sacks of rice that you can get on a dollar, whatever cost ratio, is just so cheap. It's got to be one of the cheapest foods out there. So I think it's a terrible excuse.
It's no real excuse.
No, there are healthy foods out there that are expensive, but there's also a bunch that are cheap and probably some that are cheaper. Certainly on a nutrient and whatever the way they satiate you basis.
Yeah, it's something I've had to learn as well, is that there's certain foods, while they might not look quantitatively as much, they're going to make you feel fuller. You know, it's usually like protein.
Rice is like protein, but also stuff like rice.
Yep,
rice fills you up. So I guess maybe when people think to eat healthy that you have to buy fresh fruit and veggies, which can be expensive, and maybe they think you have to eat lots of meat, although I arguably think most people these days are saying eating lots of meat isn't so good for you. But yeah, perhaps that's why. But that's what I mean. There just needs to be a bit of education here. You can buy. Personally, I don't think you need any. You don't need any fruit at all. Vegetables, I think, are good. But even if you really want to cut all that stuff out, if you just add in a multivitamin, which you can get pretty cheap as well. Yeah.
I think,
but just frozen, buy them frozen. Don't buy a bag of this stuff frozen, and it's cheap as compared to the fresh stuff.
Your sentiment's definitely shared by most of middle class. I know from experience from my family growing up, like exact same argument has been made. Do you guys reckon, in general, as from in the last 20 years, that we're getting healthier as a society or not healthier? I know like obesity is going up, obviously, diabetes going up. The stats would suggest that I'd say we're probably not, and that maybe we're just getting better at catching the other end and saving people's lives as they deteriorate.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Healthier over time, or we're getting less healthy?
It's impossible. Yeah, you have to, because that's such a broad term, isn't it? Healthier.
Yeah, it is. What even is healthy?
Yeah, so it's so tough. In some ways we're not, in some ways we are. So I'll have my cake and eat it too. I know stuff like if you consider stuff like infant mortality, stuff like that, we're healthier than ever. Now that's not because of food. That's more medicine, which we're tying in here. So in some aspects, we're healthier. I would say medicinally we're healthier. Food wise, no, we're probably on average, as a society, Western society, or if we want to just use New Zealand as an example, the way people are eating is not as healthy as it was 20 or 30 years ago, and we can see that in the obesity rates, which are constantly going up.
Yeah, I probably agree with what David's saying. I think, food wise, it's never been more easy to eat. As everything's for the most part readily available to you. And when you add like convenience, the convenience point of it, I mean, like, not to knock on Linwood or anything, but you think about what's going on there. You've got Domino's, McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, KFC. Taco Bell, KFC, all within like the same, and fish and chip shop,
and heaps of liquor stores,
and vape store. Like it's everything is so readily available and accessible to you. So then it really comes down to the onus on if you actually want to eat healthy. For me, look, I'm on the bigger side, and I can, I can stand by that. But I doesn't mean I want to like live a life of constricting my what's the word? Restricting, be like a strict way where I'm only eating whatever because I'm fat or whatever. No, it's like you can still, it's all about moderation.
Yeah.
And then if it is your thing to lose weight, then you need to look at portion sizes, because you can still eat, like there's not like what Dave said, you can still eat a cheeseburger or a Big Mac, but then maybe you can't have the fries.
Or you do what I don't know if he's doing it anymore, but what Morgan was doing, you fast. You fast and you have a window, and the thing, fasting works so well. Not for everyone, everyone, because some people struggle with it. I love fasting. Fasting works perfectly because I never have an appetite in the morning anyway. So if fasting works for you, it's a great option because it also decreases the size of your stomach, which means I had this the other day where I didn't eat until dinner. Is when I went to my sister's house, but before that we went out for a walk up the hills. So I was starved essentially, but yet when I got back to her place, I could only eat a small plate of food because the size of my gut was so small because that's it. Your gut expands and contracts. So if you've been fasting, the size of your stomach will have contracted, and you will fill up a lot faster than you would have you been gorging all day. So yeah, I think fasting works for two reasons.
Fasting's I rate fasting.
But no, I agree. I think fasting's great. I think for me personally, like some days I will eat breakfast, lunch, dinner. Some days I'm not even hungry till lunchtime. So it's not like I live a completely regimented way of eating. But in terms of if we're trying to fast until dinner time, like by that point, I think it's more, maybe it's a personal thing where you're just more likely to binge, and you just eat, like, because they say you're having one meal, and that's
you don't have to have one.
You don't have to have one meal. You can have two or three.
But that's
have
the
a window.
thing, as big as you can to an extent, if the appetite does come on, because you've not eaten. You have, you can cram. That's it. You can cram 2 or whatever your calorie allowance is, your 2 to 2,500 calories, because you're fitting it in an 8-hour window or whatever. That's it. You can binge because you're
binging the right foods. But like, I mean, it's pretty most of us as adults, we could probably eat a pizza in one sitting. Yeah, and like if you can eat pizza and something like then. You are consuming a large amount of calories in one go. Yeah, so it's fair. Yeah, so you still have to so you'd have fill it. Yeah, it'd have to be the right type of food. To an extent, you'd still have more leeway than if you just had the tendency to binge all day anyway. If you weren't fasting, so that fasting will give you at least some leeway. Is better than to binge in an 8-hour window than in a 16-hour window, isn't it? Because you're probably So
I think the fasting chat as well alludes to the importance, I think, of, like we're saying, diets can be hyper specific to you. Like from what works for someone entirely possibly doesn't work at all for you. So like listening to, as hippie as it sounds, listening to your body, and like I was brought up, again, another food myth, perhaps.
Breakfast.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Blah blah. It's a Kellogg's have their fingers in that because you cereals, grains for breakfast. So, it's not necessarily it's not a grand conspiracy to say that Kellogg's wants you to buy more Kellogg's products. So I would eat breakfast every morning out of habit, and then all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, I trialed it. I came across some information. Thank you, internet. About fasting, and I was like, I'll try it, as an experiment on myself, which I love to do, and we all do ourselves in different ways, and realize that I don't need it at all. I'm not actually hungry in the morning, and I don't. And
I'm the same, especially if I obviously have a coffee, which is the caffeine is an appetite suppressant. So if coffee's not your thing, then that's. The point being, like listening to your body rather than just eating out what's healthy. And that's the thing, it's such a ridiculous idea that we have to have breakfast. And some people will feel like breakfast, and that's fine. But the idea that it's the most important meal of the day and that it's crucial and that your day is a write-off if you don't, is so insane, because you just have to look at how humans used to live when, food was sporadic. You didn't always have the option of eating breakfast because you might not have got the kill last night. So you don't have breakfast, whatever. So the human body, is far more robust than you think it is.
There is also a fun fasting fact that I've heard from the internet, is that digestion takes up like 30% of your daily. It takes 30% of your energy to digest. So when you're not eating for a prolonged period of time, like more than 24 hours or so, that energy is diverted to cell cleaning. That's why the fasting is so good. That's the whole
food coma thing, is that you feel lethargic because blood is being drawn away from your brain to your gut. So you've got less energy going on in your brain, and that's a very real feeling for me. Food comas.
With fasting though, so
Christmas dinner, everyone can relate, I'm sure.
With fasting, most things talking about fasting, intermittent fasting, where you have your eating window, will suggest it's more like you eat around dinner time, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, I like the idea of intermittent fasting, but just in terms of how my day is structured, it wouldn't work, because if I work a physical job, by a certain point, it's like I'm actually running on pure.
But, so you it doesn't have to be perfect. If you just and it may not work, but if you just fast until lunchtime, that's better than not fasting at all.
Yeah.
Or just experiment.
It doesn't have to be the perfect thing where you go all the way until dinner.
Yeah, because someone I know who's doing fast, like, yes, they might be seeing results, but you could see just general from their mood.
Yeah,
like,
so
real
It's difficult.
grumpy, get frustrated. So, and then you have your one meal or your eating window, but like if I was trying to implement to my own life, I'd have to tailor it to a specific way.
And as I say, it doesn't have to be the most perfect. Yeah, like for me, I'm not a strict faster. I just generally fast until like 2 p.m. because that's when I start feeling hungry. And technically, I'm not actually fasting because I have a coffee which has some milk in it, so getting a few calories in. So it's not a 100% fast, but that's still a lot better than having a pile of cereal for breakfast. It's still, it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's the key, is that, it can be frustrating. You think, I need to do it, like, as to do this. Just, do it, do what feels right for you.
That's the most important point.
Because that's the thing. I've never been a breakfast person, so it just works naturally. As soon as I start feeling hungry it's usually around 2. Some days it might be 1, some days it might be 3. I'll eat.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm real keen to see. I think because we're still relatively young, we're kind of in that midpoint. But when you're young, like, your engine's even better. Like, I can just power through like candy. Like, you can eat shit as a kid that you couldn't handle as an adult. Like, you'd be wasted. And it's like you can feel it starting to peter off with certain foods. Like, kind of when they used to just give you like some gas, now like kind of like properly fuck you up for like an hour,
sit in your body and wreck you for the next day.
I'm quite because everyone, or maybe not everyone, but a lot of people back their diets. It's very personal. Like, everyone has their strong opinion on food, and I'm pretty keen to just see how, because we're all basically running our own experiments, how they end up. When we're 50, 60, like, who starts dropping off. I'm like, well, I guess vegetarian diet was the best, guys. I win. Not that I'm vegetarian, but you know what I mean.
There's so many other factors that
there is.
Obviously, the two big ones.
Food's a massive factor. If you drank Coke all your life instead of water,
we'll tell that to Warren Buffett.
And that's I don't. It's a factor. I don't know how big of a factor it is. It's certainly not the biggest. I think biggest.
You think it's the biggest?
No, it's definitely not the biggest. The biggest is smoking, if you smoke.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Second biggest is probably alcohol. If you drink a lot of alcohol, which I do at the moment, gone back into a bad habit of doing, but not like but if you're like an alcoholic, then you're gonna. But even if you're drinking more than I really do think those guidelines for drinking whatever, not more than 14 standards in a way. If you're doing that, you're probably taking years off your life.
Well, another plus for the food as a medicine. I mean, food and drink, and alcohol's a drink. Yeah, I mean, it's a class 1 carcinogen. We know that.
Yeah, so antioxidants, you can counteract it a little bit.
That's basically a bad medicine, or it's a complete opposite of a medicine, but it's the same. It's a similar thing. If alcohol can cause cancer, then surely other beverages can have the opposite effect.
I think they can improve your odds. But so, I'd say smoking number 1, alcohol, and obviously you can throw some other like meth and stuff in there if you want. But we're talking about
meth is food.
Yeah, we're talking about like everyday people here. And then arguably, actually, your genetics, you could make a case that actually might be number 1. It's certainly 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
So
I was lumping cigarettes, alcohol are all in amongst that in my head, I guess. But
yeah. So you could be the most healthy, have the most healthy diet, but if you smoke, you're probably worse off, or will have your odds are worse than the person who eats like crap but has never smoked a cigarette in their life. I think smoking. From the science that I've looked at, which is from David Sinclair, he put out a list recently, so I'm actually just copying that from him. He said that smoking is the number 1 determining factor in lifespan, and alcohol is number 2. He said the science on that's got more clear recently. He's saying it's worse than it used to be in the science, which doesn't surprise me if we all know how it makes you feel the next day after you've had too much of it.
Poison.
So
fun poison.
fun point. Yeah, it's a double. And
Like
this
Coke,
is,
like Coke.
and this is
Well,
and this is where we
fun.
get into this area where we've talked about this before. Is there's probably no point in living the longest, healthiest life if it's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
So
Yes, kind of like the point you were making. It's like
yeah,
you got to live.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I don't drink alcohol just as a personal thing.
Yeah.
Like we used to, but
Haram.
I don't hate I don't hate people who do, and if they want to do it to enjoy, have like a bit of enjoyment, it's like it's totally up to them. But it's really about how you live your own lifestyle. But in saying that, like I wouldn't want to deprive myself from something completely to like. Be healthy in old age and then get to that thing. It's like, well, I never lived any experiences or I don't know, tried this or that.
I'd rather live
That's a good
to
point.
70 and live like a relatively free lifestyle where I'm not overly cautious about what I'm eating. I can dabble in alcohol, the occasional cigarette and other substance and stuff like that. I'd rather, and if I kick the bucket at 70, I'd rather that than be a teetotaler, do no substances,
Like a good
have the most perfect diet and live till 90.
a good like analogy, I think might not be the right word, but for that is like you want to finish the race of life like in your car, like bruised and battered, like you've had like an epic race, not like pulling up like with a perfectly like undamaged car right to the end when you die, you know.
And
You want to have had a gnarly ride, like a fun
I think
ride.
it's easier to say.
Well, it's
that.
a personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I
a
kind of get
balance.
what David's saying.
You don't
but
want to be an animal. Like,
I think it's easier to say it now.
I would add in the third option. I would take the option the second option of being a teetotaler and living till 90. I'd take that over being an alcoholic, pack a day smoker and having a terrible death of like getting cirrhosis in my 40s or 50s and having heart failure and being on all sorts of medication. And maybe you still do make it to like 60, but your health is you're coughing, you need oxygen.
There's always going to be exceptions to that too, because
you get lucky.
You get lucky,
but we're all talking about on average here.
And just as there's no right answer to
I
that,
think
is the same with food. It's like it's real personal to you. There's no right or wrong answer. You can't eat wrong. Like you can eat that against your goals to like be healthy, and that's kind of wrong. But there's no wrong amount of Coke you can drink per day or a week. You know, it's just like an opinion. It's a personal opinion. It's like I don't think you should do that. And like, well,
you could drink 1.5 liters of Coke a day, but there will be most likely there will be repercussions. You know, you might start getting kidney stones or things like that. So I mean, I'd probably disagree with that. Like,
well, isn't that what you're saying though? Like you want Coke's yum. Like you want to drink it sometimes. And
so
sometimes.
that's what I think.
Just a matter
it comes
of opinion.
back to if you're drinking 1.5 liter a day, I think we can all recognize that that's
and we all know someone who has
that's grossly excessive.
Yeah.
A can of
in your opinion?
No, that definitely. There's categorically.
What do you mean? What if they want to live to 40? They're fine living to 40.
That's fine. Yeah. But it's definitely not healthy. It's categorically unhealthy to be drinking 1.5 liters of Coke.
It's unhealthy to drink any.
To an extent, I don't put it this way. I think if you drank a can of Coke a day for your life, it wouldn't alter the outcome or the probability of your outcome very much. One can is not that
very
bad.
Much, yeah.
1.5 liters is a whole different ball game. Yeah, can a day of Coke is not that bad. It's about 45 grams of sugar. As long as that's not on top of other massive sugar consumption. It won't. If
it was your only vice and you lived a relatively healthy lifestyle where you're eating bits of, you're getting the right amounts of protein and carbs and whatever, and it was just one can of Coke. I think
you have to look at it as the way your liver is pretty much a perfect analogy for this. Your liver can repair itself, but if you're absolutely thrashing it all day, every day, it gets scarred. And then it gets so unwell that it can't repair itself, or it struggles to repair itself, and that's what eventually, cirrhosis. It cannot. It's screwed. But that's it. You can take moderate amount of punishment. So if you can, because it can repair itself. But if you absolutely smash it, you can only get away for it for so long. But it can take some punishment, just not excessive amounts for extended periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like that's a good way to just view your like lifestyle and body in
your
general.
opinion.
It can take no. But,
That's my point. Is it's
Wow.
like 1.5 liters of Coke bad, one
different-
can okay, but then like 1.4 liters. You know, it's like
I would
Oh,
say
no.
on average, if you're drinking much more than 1 can a day, it would
Yeah.
it would be technically
If you're, I mean,
But
if
it-
you're addicted to it, then maybe if you're drinking that much, it's probably a better idea to wean yourself down to one. I would probably say personally, 1 can a day is probably too excessive, and maybe like
personally,
maybe
But
but it's a
keyword.
personal thing. But
Yeah.
maybe like 2 or 3 a week is not going to hurt. But
Yeah.
1 a day, maybe.
because then like I mean a Coke drink who are we to say? Because like a Coke drinker who drinks 1 can a day could equally judge anyone who drinks a beer a day and be like that. I would never do that. Like,
Yeah,
that's
totally.
horrible.
I think with both of those, and there are guidelines around that. We know that if you're a male, you can have about 2 standard drinks a day, and it won't have very many negative outcomes statistically, probabilistically. Could you be the most unlucky person in the world who drinks 2 beers a day and gets cirrhosis? Yes, you could be, but
Yeah, I get that.
a large sample size shows that your body as a male can handle about 2 drinks a day without basically any negative repercussions.
Or if you just want to get smashed in the weekend, don't drink any during the
I
week.
don't think it works like that.
Yeah,
But-
save it up.
drink
save it
your
up.
drink your 14 standards in one night.
But you can still like get away with that to an extent, because as long as you're doing that once a week, it will still probably statistically reduce your lifespan. But because you're only hammering your liver once a week, it still does have your 6 days to repair itself from that damage that you're doing. It's where if you get hammered every second day, that you're just not giving enough time to recover, and that scar tissue starts forming and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd say it's similar to like your body if you're working out. Like, yes, you can exercise every single day of the week. Sometimes you just need to listen to your body and actually stop and have a rest day.
Listen to your body.
Kind of. So, like, yeah, you in that sense, like if sometimes I know I've had a bad run of diet. You know, I've had fish and chips maybe once or twice too many times during the week. That's not a good example, but you just know, and it's like, okay, I know I need to just eat something, eat some
Green,
vegetables, or I'm really craving a salad, or like it. You kind of just need to know what your body needs.
Yeah,
but
that's real important.
But if you're
agree.
someone like who's struggling to put on weight, and you're trying to, you've got a bit more leeway to eat more bad food or calorie dense food. But if you've got your goals are to like lose weight or then you've kind of got to weigh it up.
Yeah.
Prioritize it.
Yeah. I think knowing your own body is epic OP power. And I mean, if you've never, like you're saying, you're trying new foods, I think in that case, if the more you try, the more you familiarize yourself with them, the more you like know how your body deals with them. I feel like your body will then, there's no way to prove this, your body will then get better at knowing what you need. So you might just have like now that you've tried oysters, I don't know, down the line, you might have just a hankering for oysters, or you might get somewhere and be like, oh, I really want an oyster, like I really feel like oysters today, because your body now knows it needs like that, whatever's in that. I think give props to the body for that. It's getting pretty hippie, but
maybe like another specific example, you probably have pizza like once a week. It was like the not the cheat day meal, or like your takeaway meal, or that was like specifically after high school and after high school, that was like the thing. Now, yes, I can eat a pizza, but I know like my body doesn't react to it as kindly as it used to. I still enjoy it, and I know like, okay, maybe shouldn't do as much. So instead of once a week, it might be like once a month, because I don't want to deprive myself of like the enjoyment, because I love eating pizza, but I just can't eat it as much as I used to for that very reason. So in that sense, like, there's real, I guess, bonus to trying new foods, because then you find out what you enjoy, and you can definitely like have different options available. You could eat oats, like David said, every day, but like, you get sick of it.
But that was in reference to poor people.
Yeah.
And like, that's what I mean. Yeah, and that'll be the cop out excuse. Oh, well, oats taste like crap. I'd much rather eat a bag of Doritos for breakfast.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, but that's just not a valid excuse, you know?
Yeah. Like for me, like I pretty much, because Wheat Bix probably eat 3 or 4 times a week, like at work for breakfast. But I got a bit sick of it, so to have something different, and then eventually go back to it.
Yeah, I definitely
it's
got
like
that as well.
It's like if you've eaten the same things too much, it's like you don't enjoy it as much. So you got to have a bit of balance, but
I think
equally
that contributes to a lot of the trends. Is like, you know, they've intentionally, that people have been eating like no Wheat Bix, to use your example, and then their body kind of needs it, and then so like they switch to just eating Wheat Bix or just carnivore, just eating meat, and they're like, whoa, I feel better, as the like scales of all these other depleted nutrients they weren't getting skyrocket, and the other one's slowly going down, and then they're like, oh, actually this isn't like great. Yeah.
I think there's also beyond nutrients, there's like reactions that happen in your brain and body when you make a radical change like that. Like I think when people go on a carnivore / keto diet, usually there's it's called the keto flu, where as your body is deprived of all the glycogen, you get like a bit of a flu, you feel like crap. But then shortly after that, you get a bit of euphoria, you get clear-headed because your body has just started producing the ketones, a new source of energy or whatever. And so it's like a novelty in your brain, and you get a sort of a honeymoon phase then when it feels great, but then your body just adapts and knows this is this new source of energy. It just is what it is. And then vice versa, if you went back to like from carnivore keto to eating a bunch of carbs, getting all that glycogen back, there'll be like this immediate euphoria. But then if you just
it's like an equilibrium
balance,
where you just kind of like go up and down.
I think homeostasis is probably the technical word there for it. Your body, when something novel happens, it gets really excited for the first few times you do it, but then it gets used to it. So that's the same. And then obviously in the case of like drugs and stuff, that's why you keep needing more and more, because your body's like, this was awesome the first time, but this is, I'm used to this now. If you give me double the amount, then it will feel great again. But obviously, that's a slippery.
Double the amount. Double amount.
It's a classic with food.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the things that sucks about it sucks in a way, but it's again one of the things that keeps us alive. It's a survival mechanism, homeostasis, because it keeps you balanced essentially. Because that's it. If we're all high on crack all day, every day,
normalizes.
As a society, we'd peter out pretty quickly. So that's that's the reason that your body gets used to it and it stops being exciting. But it sucks in a way, because that's anything novel soon wears off. Again, the
boring middle ground.
The classic case of the same as like buying a new laptop or whatever. It's awesome for the first week, and then you just it's just a laptop now.
I love this laptop. I've had it for a while. It's so
long-term relationship.
I know you say. So you can apply it to mostly everything.
The boring middle
pretty
ground.
much is everything.
It's like getting a new cell phone.
It's so exciting.
It's awesome. I got it so fast, and then after like a week, you're like, oh man, this is just is what it is.
You just get used to it. And it's like you always want to protect stuff when you first buy it, and then like don't want to get it scratched or anything, and then after 2 months it's like
you've got the plastic film that you don't want to take off. It's like bubbling at the top.
It's just like, you just get used to it.
The thing. I just will say we're just ticked over the 1 hour mark, so if there's anything more you want to add, otherwise probably wrap this one up.
I think I think again it's a pretty simple message. It's just everything in moderation. It's a pretty
I was going to say tell us takeaways, not takeaway food, but takeaways from this council.
Everything in moderation.
And again another key takeaway is there's very little, there's a lot of food which isn't inherently unhealthy.
Context.
So like I don't think that a cheeseburger is unhealthy. There's a lot of calories in it, but there's nothing crazy bad in a cheeseburger. It's just in most cases calories is the most important thing. So it's easy to blow out eating heaps of cheeseburgers as opposed to eating a bowl of rice. I think the only really bad foods are stuff, trans fats, and excessive amounts of sugar is highly inflammatory. But there's a lot of food which might be heavy in calories, but that doesn't mean it's unhealthy as long as you just don't eat too much of it if you're not trying to put on weight. Yeah.
Okay, cool. My takeaway would be experiment on yourself more. Wouldn't take any diet on face value based off someone else's amazing life-changing results.
It's just another thing. There is no perfect diet. I see this all the time. People, they're on the keto diet and they say, this is magic. It's the key to losing weight. And as I said, the reason behind that is because they're eating less calories because they're getting way more satiated by the amount of food they're eating because meat is very filling. So it's not magic. The same thing would happen if you ate the same amount of calories on a balanced diet. It might just be easier for you because yes, you are getting more satiated from meat. But if you hate meat or you just get sick of meat, so I've tried keto multiple times and after a month you just get sick of eating. So I get sick of eating so much meat. Then it's not a bullet. It's not the holy grail. So I think that's the key. There is no holy grail. You just have to tailor something sustainable. I think that's another key. A sustainable. Don't go on a diet. Have sustainable nutrition and a sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah, I like that.
A lot of these extreme diets, they work for a month and then you just get sick of it and then
it's like, can you truly imagine yourself for the rest of your life doing this diet or whatever it is?
Yeah, so think about it in terms of lifestyle / nutrition rather than diets, which are fads.
Yeah. You, Nev?
Well, I was more leaning on the moderation side of what David's saying, but I think this might be a bit of a cop-out now. So probably takeaways in terms of food, like listening to your body is very important. So if you're eating the same amount of foods, or if your body's not responding to something new, or you start noticing you're feeling bad after eating foods, then you really got to listen to that. You shouldn't be doing that. So
you shouldn't be feeling bad after.
You shouldn't be feeling bad. Like
food should make you feel good every time.
Exactly. Food should be making you feel like, what's the word? Not cozy. There's another word for it, but like
I think satiated is the right
word. That's probably the right word.
Yeah.
Where you just feel like content, or you feel satisfied from eating. But if you're feeling like,
I didn't want to make that example I gave earlier about like eating a mince pie versus eating a Vegemite sandwich. I would feel satiated. I'd feel good after eating a meat pie. I wouldn't feel good after eating that sandwich because that sandwich is just a whole lot of carbs. There's no fat or very little fat and protein in there.
I think from that, like, yes, you feel good, but perhaps afterwards is what I'm trying to say. Like,
it depends on.
It's more the after effects of.
But food. I personally find like if I eat a meal that is very high, I think, and like simple carbs, I feel like crap very soon after. So like a white bread sandwich with no meat or anything, no like protein in it.
A chip sandwich.
Yeah, like that's the pit.
That's the ultimate. It's the ultimate Kiwi food.
Crap.
Chicken. What are chicken chips inside of white bread?
Yeah, it's busting.
Oh, classic.
But, that would make me feel like absolutely.
As a kid, though, you could slam those back in.
To be fair, I've only even eaten it once, so not for me. We'll wrap it up there. I think next week we've decided we're going to talk about negotiation.
We could do that.
Or we'll have a think about it.
Or we could get Lucas on if he's keen, or we can say that for a week later.
We will.
Shout out.
Yeah, we will deliberate. I don't think that's the right word. Maybe it is. During the week, we'll come up with some ideas. Yeah. We are open to talking about all sorts of topics here. We don't want to constrain. That's the word. I say constrict, but that's a mixture between strict and
convict.
Anyway,
I think constrict would still
maybe
make sense.
Either way, that's not the point. But
thanks, guys.
Episode 29. Been a pleasure chatting. And we will see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.